News broke yesterday that the Sixers' current GM, Brian Colangelo, will be stepping down due to Twittergate, or what has been known over time as the NBA soap opera. Who is who led to these burner accounts, fingers being pointed everywhere, except owning up to his own accord. We all know it was Brian Colangelo. So, now that that's all said and done and now it's over, the search continues for Josh Harris and the Sixers to find the next great GM that's going to take and lead our Sixers to hopefully an NBA title or multiple in the near future. So you're looking at some candidates out there. You got David Griffin, for one. All right, let's look at his resume. He was Cleveland's GM from 2014 to 2017. He was able to clear up cap space to bring LeBron James back to Cleveland, okay? He was able to land Kevin Love, so he got that trade done through. And if you look at it, Cleveland ended up winning that trade. During that draft, I think Cleveland had the number one overall pick. They had Wiggins. Well, Griffin didn't really want to implement and put Wiggins in that trade to try to acquire Love, but they had to. So you look what Timberwolves got. They got Anthony Bennett, who was a bust, Andrew Wiggins. They got Thaddeus Young from us because it was a 3-team deal, and $6.3 million in a trade, in that trade. So you look at Kevin Love, he had his best statistical year that year. 26-12, was shooting close to 40% from downtown. And what did it ultimately lead to? A championship in Cleveland, its first one ever. First championship since 1964 for the city of Ohio, or for the state of Ohio. So, I think he's the top candidate for the Sixers to go out there. And the reason he left Cleveland was there was a disagreement between him and the owner, Dan Gilbert. And I think, honestly, it was to spite LeBron James because he really liked Griffin a lot. And Dan Gilbert just likes to do the opposite and hurt LeBron any way he can. So I feel like he didn't want to get him back into the situation. And Gilbert's a control freak. So he got rid of him, and then he traded Kyrie, which LeBron didn't want to do either. But that will ultimately lead to them getting swept, obviously, tonight, and possibly bringing LeBron to Philadelphia. There's a connection. If we do bring Griffin in, there's that connection with LeBron James, and maybe he can somehow convince him to come play in Philadelphia, and I know a lot of fans would be happy about that, so we'll see with that. I think David Griffin is a great choice to be the Sixers' next GM. That would be the top choice. And then you look at Mike Zenner. So he's the assistant GM to Danny Ainge, and he's also the team's counsel. So he controls the numbers category, salary cap, and he's one of the main leaders of statistical and analytics, bringing it into basketball. So he's kind of like the man behind the man over there in Boston. He's been there for 10 years. He's a lifelong Celtics fan. His family's got season tickets there. I don't know if we're going to be able to pry him away. Back in 2013, when the Sixers were searching for a GM, he inquired about coming over here to Philadelphia, but ultimately the organization decided to go with Sam Hinkie instead. All said and done, I thought it was great for what Philadelphia did in getting Sam Hinkie, but imagine if we did have Zenner. I think he's done a phenomenal job over there with the Celtics, so possibly having him over here, is he going to be able to break through and be able to come over to a rival, even though he is a Celtics fan, but being able to run your own team would be great for his resume. So he's a possibility too. You look at him. Then there's also talks of Danny Ferry. Danny Ferry played in the league for so long. Finally won a championship with the Spurs in 2003. Okay. He was the GM of the Cavaliers from 2006 to 2010. Some of the worst teams put together with LeBron James. He was willing his team basically through the playoffs, got them the best record for the first time in the Eastern Conference. LeBron was just putting the team on his back, much like he's doing now. He was younger then, so he could do that. But things didn't work out there after all those years of getting knocked down, knocked around. So he went to become the VP with the Spurs, VP of basketball operation with the Spurs. Did that for a couple years. Then he was able to get another GM spot with the Hawks. Well, it didn't end too well there because during a scouting report, he let out some racial slurs and statements about Luol Deng. I don't know if you guys remember that. So he was forced to step down and lost his tenureship there. So the past 2 years, what has Danny Ferry been doing? He's still in the front offices. He's been the assistant GM to the Pelicans, Dell Demps. So he's been under his tutelage. I don't know if we want to really go with Danny Ferry. He really hasn't had so much success. You can't really give the success to what he did with San Antonio because they got R.C. Buford over there, Popovich, so on and so forth. They're just a great organization. But Danny Ferry's name has been floating around. I really don't want Danny Ferry just because he hasn't really shown me anything. But, the first two candidates I think would be phenomenal if we were able to get Zenner or, David Griffin would be great. Then you think, if we want to hire internally, I think the Sixers are going to want to look out, hire outside. You've got, what is his name? It's Mike Eversley, I believe it is. He's the VP of Sixers player personnel. I don't know too much about him, but his name is kind of floating around, but I don't think they want to hire from within. I think they want to go outside and hire somebody. But you look at it, I know every GM in the league wants to come here. You've got two budding superstars in Joel Embiid and Simmons, okay? You've got a lot of cap space to where you can land a top-tier free agent, superstar free agent. Tons of assets. We got the 10th pick in the draft. We got 5 picks overall this year. We got the 26th pick, the 10th pick overall from the Lakers. A ton of cap space, like I said, to be able to bring in a top-tier free agent. Everybody's gonna want to come to play here. And for BC to kind of just piss that opportunity away, it just goes to show you how stupid and rat-faced he is. But chomping at the bit, if we were able to pull somebody away, maybe Sam Presti from OKC, it would cost us a first-round compensation, and we'd have to pay a little bit. I would not rather do that. I'd rather just go after a guy that isn't already with a team so we don't get taxed on it and all. So honestly, Griffin or Zenner would be my top 2 choices to be able to lead this team. I really like the resume that Griffin has put together, and he was just done dirty by Dan Gilbert. He's a schmuck. So, what has he been doing in this year off? He's been an analyst for the NBA, but he would be my top guy because I don't think we're going to be able to get Zenner. He's probably going to take over for when Danny Ainge wants to step down, but he's the man behind the man. I think, Danny Ainge is the face, but Zenner is the man behind making all these moves, just because he's a genius. And to work for your home team, your hometown team, why would you want to leave that and possibly take over and run your own team? But then there's the chances that Sam Hinkie, that would be my top choice, guys, but we got to be realistic. He has kept his relationships within the organization, but you look at the owners, they already cast him aside once. You think they're really going to have enough gall to sit there and say they were wrong, that they hired the wrong guy and they kicked the wrong guy out, and let's bring you back? I mean, Sam holds all the cards, in my opinion, when it comes to this, but Harris and them, I don't see them really bowing down, admitting they were wrong. A lot of egos going on there. So we got to look at it this way. Griffin, Zenner. Who you guys want to go with? Does anybody feel like we should be able to pry away, let's say, a Presti or anybody else out there? I mean, stuff to say. I don't want to play the luxury tax on that, for one, but with Griffin, you got the connections with LeBron James. When you look at Ferry, he does have the connections with Brett Brown. They were together in San Antonio for a while. So take your choice, but those are the couple names that would be floating around for the Sixers. We're the hottest spot right now to want to come for free agents, and for just because of all the assets and all the money we were able to spend. Jeffrey Lurie brought Howie Roseman back. Anything is possible. Hey man, I hope you're right. I know the bridges weren't really burned with Howie and Lurie like they were with Harris and Hinkie, but who knows? You're right. Anything can happen. What happens to bitter birds? What do you mean? But you got connections with Griffin, and our best pitch to really get LeBron here would be hiring Griffin. I think he'd be a shoo-in for LeBron to come here. There would be no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Oh, Adrian? He's around. He hasn't been doing any videos, I guess, because football's been kind of slow. But we just did a baseball video last night. But I basically do a lot of the basketball stuff in baseball. Me and Tony and Adrian do baseball stuff. Adrian likes to focus mostly on football and the Eagles and all. But we were trying to figure out, we'll be doing some draft stuff, me and Adrian. Yes. Yes, we do. Ronald Darby. It's me and Adrian basically are the main ones on here. Tony Del Grasso does some baseball stuff with us. And then Brennan Albert, he does draft stuff with Adrian. Yeah. Yep. I don't know if you're new to the channel or anything like that, but we each have our own little sections. Like Adrian does like football in the draft, and he does the stuff with Brendan with the drafts as well. I do baseball and basketball. Tony does some baseball stuff with us, so we've got our own little crew. Dude, I don't know. I don't watch soccer. I have no idea. Yeah, maybe Adrian would bring back a soccer channel. We did do soccer for a little bit. It just didn't really get any numbers. But to have Sam Hinkie to be able to come back here, I know he's dabbling with some stuff in football. Why did the baseball video get taken down? Yeah, I don't know, Sean. I was wondering that myself. I don't know if it just didn't upload. We've been having some technical difficulties with Hangouts. So hopefully we're able to get that reloaded today and figure out what's going on. But to be able to have Sam Hinkie come back, hopefully bridges weren't burned to the extent to where each side can come to an agreement and Sam can come and see this through. Baseball is entertaining to me. I think it's much like soccer or hockey. Like, if you grew up watching it and you're really into it, and of course you're going to love it, but I can't get into soccer or anything like that. It's too boring to me. The process took a step back. You think by letting go of BC that the process took a step back? So you were sad about Brian being fired. Interesting. I just didn't think Brian Colangelo really did anything here. He didn't really put his mark on the team. Like, what did he do other than make the trade up for Fultz? But that was entailed because of what Hinkie did. Oh, okay, good. Kapler got tired of me bashing him. He took the video down. Hey, Kapler had some pull, man. Maybe he's got some fake accounts here and he watches some videos. I wouldn't be surprised if BC did too. Those guys are that egotistical, but that'd be funny, Sean. I really just think we've been having a lot of issues with Hangouts, and I'll have to message Adrian and ask what's going on with that to get that video up and going. So I really like to get our Philly stuff out there. The team's just not playing as well now, but they started off hot, and you know, this team is up and coming. They can really do some damage. And now it's right after tonight, it's all baseball season. So we really want to get our football or baseball stuff out there. But I'm hoping Hinkie has just kept good relationships within the organization and with Scott Harris to be able to just say, you know, admit they were wrong. They picked the wrong guy. Colangelo only got the job because of his daddy, you know, and his daddy tried to sacrifice and save his job before this all happened, and with the probe into the investigation, saying he was going to ruin the Sixers basketball relationship. So Colangelo doesn't really, I don't think he really has the pull like he did back in the day, because he's a basketball mogul, and it's the only reason his son got jobs in Toronto and here. I mean, he started off with Phoenix, which his dad owned at one point. Who's your prediction for first round draft choice? Honestly, if we can get Bridges, that would be awesome. If he can fall, I'm hoping Michael Porter might fall, but Bridges is the perfect fit. You know, a long athletic guy that can guard multiple positions, can shoot from downtown, can create his own shot. So I think he'd be able to make the most impact on this team if he falls to 10. I don't think he'll be able to fall to 10. In my prediction, I think the Knicks take him the pick before us. So if that forces us to trade up and get somebody, but I don't want to do that either, because I just would rather let the board fall to us, because we're in a great situation. We don't really have to force our hand. We got a lot of picks. Like I said, we have 5, 2 first rounders, 3 second rounds, or we might even have 4 second rounds. We might have 6 picks this draft. I have to recheck that. But got a ton of money to spend. We build off this 52-win season and make a step forward. Brett has, you know, some coaching under his belt in the playoffs, learn from his mistakes. Same with Embiid and Simmons. They've got some playoff experience, and you build off of this. You go out and get... Now, if we do sign LeBron James, it's not going to be enough to beat that team out there by the bay. They are unbelievable. I've never seen a team quite like this. I've talked about this with a lot of my coworkers. They're a force to be reckoned with. I know KD is going to re-sign with them. They're going to keep that core together machine. So it's going to take possibly LeBron James and a Paul George to really help us surpass that team out in California. But my top choices, guys, I'd really rather take Zenner over Griffin, but Griffin's probably the most likely choice. But what do you all think? Who would you rather get? You want to take a GM that's already signed up with the team? Do you think it's worth the risk to take that luxury tax, lose a pick? Or is there somebody out there that I haven't named that you would like to see run this team? Leave your comments. Let me know. This is Kyle Gaffner with the Bitter Birds. Who is going to be the Sixers' next GM to take us to the promised land? All right, guys, I'm out. Peace.